So I'm David, the CEO and co-founder of Smitten, which is the most fun dating app in the world. I wanted to give you a bit about like a brief story about my origin and what I've been doing for the past 10 years. I've actually been creating mobile consumer social networks with my co-founder for more than 10 years. Everything from a social network connecting friends when they were going out, to a mobile game where you were competing with your friends, to a B2B photo and video sharing social network. But in the summer of 2019, we actually launched a serious dating app. It was a dating app called The One, and we had this beautiful hypothesis that if you would only get one match a day, and if you would only see one profile picture and maybe just the first name, we thought people would be more inclined to have a conversation with one another, to really get to know people on a more deeper level compared to all these typical swiping dating apps. So we were kind of lucky that in early 2019, we managed to raise a small angel round, mainly because we had been in this business, consumer mobile business, for so many years. And we launched The One in the summer of 2019. And we quickly realized and learned that our hypothesis, it was just 100% incorrect. People were not talking with one another. They were even like, they told us so many times that they wanted more options. They wanted to know more about the other person. And we kind of found out that more than 80% of dating app users just lack the communication skills to even start a conversation with a stranger. But at the same time, we knew that there was a gap in the market. So again, we were kind of lucky that we managed to raise another funding round, a pre-seed round, which enabled us to change the product. And we allowed you to get 3 matches for 3 days. We allowed you to upload 3 profile pictures instead of just 1. But still, the product wasn't working. And we had no organic growth. And overall, it was just really difficult. So after a year, so in the summer of 2020, we kind of decided just to talk to all of our users. And what we found out is that each and every single user that we spoke to said that dating apps are just boring. It's not fun to use them. And for most of the users, it feels like work. It feels like you have to spend an hour just swiping left and right and kind of seeing what comes out of it. And that was a light bulb moment for us. And we thought to ourselves, why isn't there a dating app that is not focused on the end goal of finding your next long-term partner or your next casual hookup or whatever it is that you're looking for, but just a dating app that is focused on the journey while you're single? And with only a few months of runway left in our bank account, we just made a U-turn. And from this serious dating app to creating Smitten, the most fun dating app in the world. And to give you kind of a brief example how Smitten is so different to Tinder or Bumble or Hinge or these swiping apps is that you might see the same 3 or 5 pictures on top, but on Smitten it's not only about the looks, it's also about the personalities, the characters. So if you're intrigued by, let's say, Noah here, I can actually scroll down his profile and get to know him before making the decision if I want to like him or dislike him, if I want to swipe him to the right or swipe him to the left. And you get to know those people through what we call entertainment elements, kind of like mini games. For example, one of our most used features is a questionnaire game called Guessery, where I would be guessing, for example, does Noah have a tattoo? And I would guess no, and I would immediately get that feedback if that's correct or incorrect. Or is Noah a vegan? Again, I get to know that. Or does Noah have any kids or whatever it is? Has Noah ever been arrested? And I would say yes. And all of a sudden, oh my God, he has been arrested. So like I'm getting to know that person before swiping him to the right or to the left. And we have a bunch of different entertainment elements. For example, another really fun game called Light Detector, which is based on the fun party game Two Truths and a Lie. So you place 3 statements on your profile. 2 of them are truth, but 1 is a lie. And I'm trying to guess which one is a lie. But the icing on the cake is that through all of this interaction before liking somebody, we can actually leverage the data and we can use the results from these games and post them into the chat once you become a match. And that is the best icebreaker out there. So, for example, on Tinder, only 1 in every 10 matches convert to a conversation, whereas on Smitten, more than 60% of all matches convert to a conversation. Because it's so easy just to ask Noah, like, whoa, hey, tell me about your tattoo, or what did you get arrested for, or whatever it is. And immediately that conversation goes on a much more fun journey. So we launched Smitten in late 2020, so just a little more than 2 years ago, and it immediately took off in our home market in Iceland. So we sat out and we decided, let's try to raise $1.5 million. And we ended up raising almost $3 million. We were oversubscribed in our seed round, and people really believed that, hey, Tinder has been here for a decade. There's a new player arising, and there's a new player that will be the dominant player afterwards. So we raised $3 million and decided to showcase that Smitten could launch and be successful and scale in another market. And we chose Denmark, which in hindsight was probably a terrible idea, because Smitten, which is a perfect name for a dating app in the US or UK, is the worst name for a dating app in Denmark, because Smitten actually means to be infected. And this was in the middle of COVID, so people thought it was just a new COVID tracking app or whatever. But eventually the Danish market started growing, and it had outgrown the Icelandic market. And we decided, hey, let's raise the next funding round. And we raised our Series A. We took in $10 million from the best gaming-focused VC fund in the world, I want to say. And now we've launched in Sweden, we've launched in Norway. We're about to launch in London, which is super exciting. And we believe now it's just a matter of time when we will take the first spot of Tinder as the most popular dating app in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Much appreciated. Got one question for you. And I was actually furiously typing out another question. But let's have Brad's question first. So Brad Jones from Meat Kingsters asked for David. The Smitten concept and USP is really unique for sure. However, I'm curious if part of your early success is also due to focusing on less saturated markets with a highly localized product. Do you think that's the secret to your success?
I mean, maybe, we don't really know, because we haven't really launched into a highly saturated market, for example, the London or UK market. But then again, for example, in Sweden or Norway, Hinge is doing a really big push there. Obviously, Tinder is super popular. A lot of users are using Badoo and Bumble and these typical dating apps. So it's not like it's just Tinder. And what we've seen is that we are gaining a fair amount of traction. We don't localize the product in those markets. So just similar to what Tinder or Bumble or Hinge do, it's just the same product for every single market out there. We don't translate anything or etc. But so the honest answer is I don't really know. Maybe it's because we've picked markets that are not as competitive, but I'm super confident that when we really go at it in London, which will happen now in August or late summer, we'll hopefully see the same success as we've seen in the other Nordic countries.
So I hear Scandinavia generally is a better willingness to pay and better conversions. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yes.
And by the way, you don't have to answer one of these questions. If you're not comfortable with any of these questions, you can always say, secret sauce.
Yeah,
so,
no, I mean,
thank you.
I'm willing to share everything. And like, it's so interesting for me, because just 20 something months ago, we were just a team of 3 guys building a dating app. Now, all of a sudden, we raised the seed round, the Series A. We have 20 something full-time employees. We've launched into so many markets. We have we recently launched our Smitten Premium, which is the typical subscription bundle package in March. We had one other feature that we had been subscribed, or allowing users to subscribe for more than a year or more than 1.5 years. But all of a sudden we are at $2 million in annual recurring revenues. So there's definitely also, we've showcased that through just the product innovation, that people are willing to pay for this product. So yeah.
Congratulations, so far so good, and congratulations on the raises as well. It's nice to see revenue run rate is looking very healthy. Raises, I understand you did 2.7 million raise and 10 million raise from VCs and angels before that. So that's a great vote of confidence. Well done on
Thank
your
you.
tenure, on your credential.
Yeah.
You know, you're no spring chicken. You've been around the block a bit, so you know what you're doing. It's great.
So,
Spring chicken, you know what I mean, though. You are
yeah,
experienced. You look
sure.
young. Right.
I am young.
Okay, good. Peter Christopher. Sorry, Brad Jones from Meat Kings has asked the last question. The next question is Peter Christopher from Together Light, which is christianfilipino.com. Do you find using the same game after a match is best, or do you give people choices?
It's a good question. So we give people choices. They can pick and choose if they want to interact with all of the games or just one of the games or whatever. And they can decide if they want to do that before the match or after the match. So so yeah, it's just all kind of, we often think about our platform is just a sandbox for our users to really do what they want to do. So yeah, we don't really see one game outperforming the others. But then again, I think like the Guessery game is just really clever and just an easy way for people to interact with one another. And then again, the light detector is also really fun.
So I think the reason I'm most excited about your business is a conversation that I had with Dan Ariely many years ago. And I was at Cupid in 2004, and my CEO said, "Go and have a chat with this guy at MIT." And it turned out to be Dan Ariely, who wrote Predictably Irrational. And he
Yeah,
basically said, games are good. You should get people playing games because then they let their guard down and they are who they really are. And they actually have fun. And
yep,
it turns out that dating is not that fun in the internet dating context or mobile app context. So you're kind of letting people have a bit of fun and then let their sense of humor bubble up and they're being who they really are. So that's why I'm so super excited for your business. Um,
thank you. And that's just like that is at the core what we are doing. Like we believe that life is too short not to have fun. So just like the core of Smitten is just to make it fun. And we want everyone to enjoy being single. It's not like using a dating app should not be the necessary evil before getting into a relationship. It's okay to like stay single. And what we're seeing with the next generation is that you don't need to be married with 2 kids if you are in your late 20s or early 30s. It's okay to be single and just have fun.
yeah. Um, you know, talking about sense of humor, did the Danish take it with a sense of humor when they realized, you didn't change the name for the Danish market? So I mean, the literal translation means to be infected, but is there a kind of funny angle to that? Was it kind of amusing for them, or was it really kind of taken fairly seriously? But how did they get over that?
Yeah, so we were hoping that they would see the kind of the funny aspects of the name, but it wasn't the case. They were like all of them were just, hey, this is a terrible name for a dating app in Denmark, because people associated it with either COVID or STDs, and that is
Yeah,
not good for a dating app. But I think it just eventually, when some people started adopting the product and starting using it, they were just that kind of happy with the experience that they were willing to spread the word and get other people on board. And then at the end of the day, the name doesn't matter that much. I mean, probably in the early days, Apple or Google or whatever, it was probably silly names to begin with. So we are seeing that change now in the Danish market, that people hopefully now kind of associate Smitten with something that is fun. It's a fun dating app, not with it means to be infected of STDs or whatever.
and they're thinking the English. I mean, they're speaking English by and large anyway, so they're,
Yeah,
they're thinking of the English meaning of it. But it's just kind of probably it would make it more viral in some ways that people would talk about it because it's an amusing story, isn't it? The the meaning probably got you talked about. So
sure.
Peter Christopher also together like from Christian Filipina says all a random game from a list. So so that's a continuation of the last comment. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Um, We've got Robin Helmreich from Lemon Swan, who asks, do you use microtransactions or a coin system like other gaming apps?
We don't have the coin system like an in-app currency. We've experimented with some microtransactions. We did not see a lot of success with the current microtransactions that we were experimenting with. So now we're mainly focused on the subscription models. But I do believe that we will, like in New York, Mark, we were talking a lot about the a la carte, those microtransactions, and we know that Match Group are really focused on that area of monetization right now. So I do believe that it will become a bigger revenue stream for us. But I also do think that you really need to find like what suits your product really well, and that is just what's suitable for microtransactions. But definitely something that we will experiment more with.
Thank you, David. From Peter Christopher, what are your favorite sources of traffic?
Our biggest source of traffic is just organic word of mouth, but our biggest paid source is TikTok. We are really big on TikTok, and we have kind of really seen that as a great platform for us to grow. We know that our target audience, which is like 18 to 22-year-olds, are most of them, like 95% of them, are using TikTok. So it's a really great platform for us to partner up with different influencers and just to spread the word about Smitten and its features and what we stand for, etc. So that's definitely our biggest source.
And what would you say is your split between integrations with influencers versus paid on the actual platform? Mind you, TikTok's got the influencer integration, hasn't it?
Yeah, so like what we mostly do is that we will partner up with influencers. They create content for us. Then we get their ad tokens and we can use them as our advertisement. So it's like kind of like a combination of both. So we pay them obviously a lot for them to post onto their accounts, etc. But then we get exclusive rights to that content for 30 days or so, where we can really boost that content. So yeah, it's kind of like a hybrid model in that sense.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you. And Jens Camera, who is the CEO founder of Jaumo, when the user base grows, fakes typically become a more significant problem. What steps do you take to prevent fraudulent or fake profiles on your app?
Yeah. Hi, Jens. It's a really good question, and something that obviously we in the dating industry talk a lot about. This is something that we are seeing becoming a bigger problem for us just day by day, especially now when we're kind of soft launching into London and experimenting with that market. There's just a lot of bots and scammers, and this is our highest priority. We like, it's always on the top of our list to make sure that our users are safe and secure. And we try our best with our in-house, just like trying to find those trends through data, somebody that is more likely to become a scammer, or if it's a bot, it's kind of easier. We are now in the middle of kind of picking and choosing some third-party services to really help us fighting those bots and scammers. So yeah, I think we're just trying to do everything. I would really, if somebody has kind of solved this problem, which I know it's not the case, because for example, Tinder in London as well is just full of scammers and bots. So it's a really difficult problem to tackle. But yeah, that's something that we are just working on day by day.
Gotcha. Yeah, we did actually have a sister conference of this called Trust and Safety Connect. We ran a few episodes of that, editions rather, I guess. But I'm really focused on LTR now. But maybe let me know if you'd like to have an LTR that's just focused on this kind of fakes to fighting and ensuring trust and safety. Maybe it's about time we did another one. We've got Arena Brooks, who is my wife and long-term editor since 2005 of Online Personals Watch. How did you identify potential investors, and what steps did you take to secure funding?
Yeah. So I think, as you said, I've been in this business for such a long time, and I've raised 10 funding rounds myself. So I know the game of funding, and for me, it's about identifying those potential prospects, which are the investors, and then just making sure that you are communicating a good story, a great vision, and sharing all of your data. And it really helps if you have user growth, and it really helps if you have the revenues growing. And we were just lucky that we created something where we ticked those boxes. So kind of all investors want to jump on the train when the metrics are good. So it's often it's a saying in the startup scene, and we say it a lot, is that to get the funding, just build a great product. That's the easiest thing to get funding. If you build a great product, every single investor wants to kind of jump in and get a piece of that cake. So that was just something that we managed to do. Obviously, it's different for the angel round or pre-seed because then you don't have all of the metrics in place. But that was the case for the seed round and the Series A. So and we think Makers Fund, who led our Series A round, it's a game, like, they invest specifically in interactive entertainment companies. And so, like, we check that box perfectly, and they really understand the gamification part of our product and how big this could potentially be. So we felt like it was an easy choice to allow them to lead the round.